So for us, we want to speak about where we started from, where we are now, the challenges we have faced, and then the lessons that we have learned. And since I led the SWOT analysis, I'll speak from the beginning to the SWOT analysis, and then Dr. Adiko will continue with the Futura experience, and then we'll conclude with the challenges and the lessons that we have learned from this whole project and the collaborations we have had so far. So the UCC team is made up of Professor Ikea Bichu, the principal investigator, who is the main person collaborating with Relay on this project. Together with Dr. Adiko and Dr. Angela Akosu as co-investigators started this project. By the time the project was approved and we started, Prof. Bichum was no longer with the Agenda Center, and so we had a new director in the person of Dr. Georgina Odro. Right. So she has been the person hosting the project at the Agenda Center at the University of Cape Coast. She worked together with Dr. Teresa Adamu and Dr. Samuel Aboti. We've highlighted his name because it's no longer in the Agenda Center, and there are new people that he's been replaced with another. We were very excited having him on the project because he was the only male at the time. And during the 2019 visit, I'm sure some of you met him. But unfortunately, there has been changes and he's no longer with us. And then we have Dr. Amanda Odoi. When we started the project, Amanda was a PhD candidate that was attached to the project. Thankfully, he has graduated, so she's now a doctor. Yeah. Mrs. Janet Arthur was also the MPhil student attached to the project. She has also graduated with Master of Philosophy. So we've made some gains. These are some of the gains we've made working on the project. I must commend these two, Amanda and Janet. They have been very supportive in the day-to-day management of the project. You know, as academics, we are very busy, and they have made everything possible. So I want to give them a round of applause. And later on, Prof. Bichum has given me chocolate from Ghana. We'll celebrate their successful completion of their program. Okay. So in year one, we started with 2 inception meetings. One was held in Ghana, and the other in Berlin here. The Ghana one, both, these are some pictures from the inception meeting. The essence of those meetings were to familiarize ourselves with the equal opportunity practices at both the Free University of Berlin and the University of Cape Coast, and to learn about the overall structure of this institution and the practices, whether or not it will be able to sustain the objectives of the project. Yeah. So I think we started with the Ghana meeting, and then we came to Berlin. So these are some of the pictures. We don't have Dr. Odro with us, but she's the one in the middle there talking. That was during the Berlin meeting. And the first picture on the top is the Ghana meeting. So these are just some pictures from the 2 inception meetings. That sets the stage for the start of the project. The outcomes fed into the SWOT analysis, the manual development, the Futura program. So during these 2 meetings, we set the stage for the other activities in the coming year. So the second year, that was 2020, 2 main activities were targeted. That is the SWOT analysis and the manual development for the project. And the SWOT analysis was led by me, and I was assisted by Dr. Odoi and Jihad from Berlin. We haven't seen Jihad. Is she around?
Yeah, I will ask her to come to join us.
Okay, that's fine. So Jihad is also a PhD student working with Relay. and we worked together on the SWOT analysis. But all of us on the project participated in the SWOT analysis. Prof. Richum, we identified, as Gule said, a host of key power holders within our institution, and then we targeted these ones. Depending on the level of position, then we assigned researchers. So Prof. Richum had the privilege of talking to the former vice chancellors, the vice chancellors, and so on, and we all had it. So Prof. Richum, myself, Dr. Adipo, Dr. Georgina Odro, the director of the center, Teresa Adamu, and Samuel Agoti all participated. Among every one of us participated in the SWOT analysis. And then we had some support team of national service persons and graduate students who helped with the transcription of the interviews that we had, and then putting the interviews together. So the rationale of the SWOT analysis, we all know that SWOT stands for identification of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of any intervention, right? So the overall objective of the SWOT analysis was to conduct a kind of feasibility study of our institution to know whether or not the structures, the power holders will welcome the whole idea of equality officers in our institution, or yes, to push forward our agenda of institutionalizing gender equality in our university. So first, we mapped out stakeholders. And the essence was to identify the allies and the opponents and the extent of power they hold, and to also identify the balance between the power they hold and their interests, whether personal or relating to the positions they hold. Yeah. I think even before the identification of stakeholders, one thing we have left out in the PowerPoint is we also did a mapping of the policy documents we have in the institution. We identified a host of legal instruments that we have. So we for instance, went through the university statutes, the administrative manual. We pulled out even the overall national law for labor acts, right? And also a number of policies that guide the day-to-day administration of the university. We went through these, pulled out those aspects of these policy documents that we think will be useful for our project. After that, then we identified the stakeholders. We identified stakeholders who hold power within the university. And also, yeah, so later on I'll pick up some of those specific stakeholders. So that is what we did. Once we did that, then we conducted the actual study for the SWOT analysis. It was mainly qualitative, yeah, and it was, we did both individual interviews and group interviews. The individual interviews were directed at the office holders. So anybody holding a position within the university, we targeted, and even reached out to some of the retired professors who have held important positions in the past, for their perspective also, since they were outside the university, how they view things, comparing their historical experience to what they think should be happening. And we think that that was very useful. Later on, probably when I finished, Prof. Richum had the opportunity to interview one of such retired vice chancellors, so maybe we can feed in some of the, really unique issues that came out from their perspective. Yeah. So, as I said, we've listed some there, but there are a host of them. Heads of department, deans, registrar, finance director, all those people, public relations officers, and all those people were targeted. In addition to these office holders, we also targeted representative groups on campus that represent different constituents on campus. You know, the university is made up of faculty, administrators, senior members, junior members, and so there are groups. So we have the Association of Administrators, who are senior members. They have an organization. We target them, the Student Representative Council, the University Teachers Association, as a group. These groups were also targeted, and the interviews with them took the form of group interviews. So, and more than one person would speak to us on the issues. Yeah. So issues covered included their perception, and we touched on the resources they think we should tap in pushing our agenda of equality forward. The issues included the legalities of institutionalizing gender equality officers, the institutional culture. We touched on organizational structure and generally their perception about whether or not gender equality officers would be something we should have at the University of Cape Coast. Yeah. I think at the time we had been confronted with COVID, and so the interviews, unfortunately, we couldn't have all face-to-face interviews. Some of them were done via telephone, others a video conferencing. And it took a period of 3 months for us to finish. Just even booking appointments with those in position to get a time to have the interview took a lot of telephone calls and counseling, and so that was the duration of the whole process, even within the same. And we did the analysis manually with the help of Jihad, who assisted us happily. So I'll just touch on some key issues from the SWOT analysis without going into too much details. And then we'll talk about the Futura program, which was led by Dr. Adepo. Generally, we think that everybody we talk to, almost everybody, thinks that the issue of gender equality is a laudable idea and it's generally supported, right? But then there were issues of their understanding of what equality means. Some of the issues also Gule mentioned, whether we should focus only on gender equality or equality broadly. So other minority groups or vulnerable groups within the university, to what extent is our project covering those ones? Should we be talking only of gender equality? And I think we've had a number of discussions about that. And for us as a core team, we are very clear that we want to stick to gender equality for a number of reasons. That once you start adding those other vulnerable groups, somehow, some way, the gender issues get to the background, and we don't think that we're too comfortable doing that. But that is one thing that came up strongly and keeps coming out. And so we don't know, if you want to start. But we are very clear, I feel we will not easily give up on the gender thing. Let's see how it goes. Okay. All right. I think we also found that in our situation, there hasn't been much intervention or policy to support women to balance their work-life tensions, right? And it's one of the things that also came up, that if we want to really push gender equality and make sure that within the faculty we see women at the top, because if you take the faculty members at our university, from the top coming, I mean, women, we are the base when it comes to even holding position and also the rank and all that. And so the fact that those aspects of gender work-life balance hasn't been pushed at the institutional level also came out generally. But one of the most challenging thing that came up from all our interaction was the issue of resources, right? Generally, it came up that if you want to push the agenda of gender equality officers, it is good, but if you want positions, as we found in the case of Berlin, it will be difficult because it has financial implications. And if you don't have funding to support the creation of offices for gender equality officers, then it will be difficult. But fortunately, in our own case, I think we've shared our experience with you about our use of affiliates. Okay. And how there are people within all colleges and faculties and departments in the university who supports the work of SEGRAD as a center. And these people we have identified as the potential equality officers in their various spaces. Fortunately, we have one lawyer affiliate with us. I'll introduce her at this point. Dr. Yvonne Ajaklu has been with an affiliate of SEGRAD from day one, since the era of Prof. Richum as the founding and director, and has been working with, and she was part of the training for the gender equality. So later on we can interact with them. And we think that these are the people that will be useful for a start. They work on voluntary basis to a large extent, and so won't come with a lot of financial implications. We don't know how long that can hold, but at least for now, that is the major resource we have, this human resource that can make up for the financial challenges that were hinted in the SWOT analysis line. Okay, overcoming obstacle. I want to just summarize this part of the findings so we don't. From the study, we also found that even though SEGRAD has undertaken a number of workshops, sensitization, they think that more of it is necessary, and that we should continue to have these sensitization, especially those that target the power holders. Usually when you're having such programs, they are never available because of their work schedule and things. But to a large extent, they are the people that also need it. So it came out that we should find a way of reaching them with our sensitization programs and workshops and things like that, if you want to make an impact. But they generally support the idea, so long as we are not asking for resources. So generally in the stakeholder mapping, we have identified from the list of stakeholders that we targeted, some we consider as promoters, some defenders, some we think that are latent, others are pathetic. And an understanding of this is useful for us so that later on we know which power holders we want to engage to support us, which ones we need working on psychologically. We are talking about gender politics. So we'll have to develop strategies to massage the egos and all of those latent and apathetic so that we can get. Fortunately, the most critical power holders were among the promoters, so we see that there are chances for success. Okay. Yeah. At the time we were conducting the study, we had a female pro-vice chancellor. He's also out, and we have we are pleased to announce that her replacement is also another female. And so, yeah, we are yet to really also know the extent of her gender policy. As we were discussing over our breakfast this morning with Pacifica, it's not all women in positions that support women issues. And so we don't want to take it for granted, that we have a woman there, so all is good. And so we want to, moving forward, also engage this new Pro-Vice Chancellor and see the extent to which she's in support. Unfortunately, that's the university system. I don't know if it's the same with you. People hold positions and then they move, and then others come.
Yeah, it's the same here.
Yeah.
But we have it's constant here at our university because it's again Professor Blenken-Attack, but we never know. But I mean, it's differently institutionalized at this institution, but of course you never know how the leadership interprets gender equality politics, right? I mean, this might change. This is what I mean with the discursive politics of gender equality.
So that is it. Maybe that's we have to also flag as one of the challenges, right? Yeah. So resources. As for the institutional framework, I think to a large extent we are good with that. The resources, as I have indicated, we are rich with human resources due to the affiliate structure that is in place. So long as it remains a voluntary position, right? Yeah. The institutional culture, there's a bit of work there that needs working on as well. Okay. Okay, let me just see if I can remember the address. Too much details. Okay. I think that's about it for the SWOT analysis. We have shared the details of the result of the SWOT analysis before. Yeah, and in addition, in that year we did the Futura. So that was handled by Dr. Aduko and Wendy's team. So I'll let Dr. Aduko speak to it, and then we can conclude our presentation.